There's nothing like doing a recording spare of the minute. Well, not so spare of the minute, but a little bit planned, because the inspiration strikes. It's really cool and fun to be able to try something different and have a go at something. And so we're getting away, and the beautiful location has really been doing a good job of getting the motivation going, which has been really a lot of fun. One of the really big things that has really stood out, especially in the information age and everything that's been going on, really is about the shift in economy. And the shift in economy is one that has really caught a lot of people by surprise. It's been happening for quite some time. You'll hear me say it's been hiding behind the couch the whole time. And it first came out in the 60s when computers started to appear and we were dreaming, started to really come to life when desktop computers started to appear on our desks. And when the internet started, that really changed it all. And so when we look at that, it meant that we were ushering a new economy in at the same time. And that new economy, we've sometimes thought, operates exactly the same as the old one, the material economy. And so there's two economies that I talk about, the material economy and the digital economy. And so what are some of the differences between some of these economies, and why do we need to start getting our heads around these things here and now? So material economy is physical, it's finite. The value that derives out of it comes from a physical presence. The scale increases with complexity. The cost goes up with that. And the effort maps out to some sort of linear output. Assets typically wear out through use. Time and availability are hard caps and hard limits. If we compare some of those elements now to the digital economy, value is detached from its presence. There's no geographic boundaries in the same sense of things. The cost of scale is drastically reduced. Output is non-linear and it moves, let me tell you. It's timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. And the assets typically compound with use. Time is flexible and, most importantly, asynchronous. So the amount that goes in isn't the same that comes out. The amount that goes out can be higher, the amount that goes in can be less. It's very much the similar sense of communications as we talk to people and we start talking on a walkie-talkie. We might talk a whole bunch of things in one sentence, then all of a sudden, yes, got it, comes back. The ability to listen in that circumstance is completely different, isn't it? Did we echo it back? We didn't. And so that's also something that we see in the digital economy. It really does shift in that sense of things. Now, there's a type of thing that we do in both economies, and that's our services. Our services don't really shift a great deal, except that they operate and functionally work a little bit differently. So material economy-based services is delivered in person or in fixed locations, typically bound to hours, availability and proximity. Capacity is limited typically, therefore, by people and time. So that's skill equating to the availability of that skill being available, and the quality heavily depends on those individuals delivering it, their systems and processes to be able to do that there very, very well. And the scale equation typically means adding a lot more people to pull it off. And with that, that also means that we end up in this scenario of getting complexity of the human condition really coming into there, because we need to scale up people, equal skill sets, standard operating procedures, systems and processes to be able to cope with all of those people involved in it. And that's not so straightforward. So that kind of scale struggles a little bit based around what that service is. Franchises are great for doing this at scale. Franchises build this wonderful solution in a box and say, this is how we do our thing. It's a great solution for looking at how to solve this scale equation here. Services in the digital economy delivered remotely or asynchronously, which means they can happen at any day, any time. There doesn't have to be the inputs and outputs in the same sense of things. And the simultaneous presence doesn't have to exist. And it's up to us to take advantage of what you can get from that. Capacity can expand without necessarily adding the same number of people. The focus of a team and the way that they focus their energy can be completely different in that sense of things. The quality, therefore, becomes embedded less in the people, but more in the actual final product. The asset then that goes onto that then comes through the scale equation, really comes through being able to replicate something and the automation that attached to that. Mind you, a little hat tip for the automation front is that the automation that we get is typically also very heavily in this material world, really comes down to how we use it. The digital economy, nearly everything can be automated, so it's really quite a fascinating space. So services then do work across both, don't they? We solve real human problems. They both rely on trust and perceived value. They both require really clear outcomes and expectations. Both benefit from consistency and reliability, and both fail. Both of them will fail when complexity is added without intention. Complexity is added without intention. Complexity is one of those things that really catches all of us by surprise. The more complex something gets, the more it's going to catch us by that surprise. I often talk about this complexity in paradoxes because the simplicity is what gets us there. This year, I've had a couple of different scenarios unfold with clients and ourselves where there was too much going on at once, and that created a compounding effect to that complexity, and we actually had to pull back into our values and what we were looking for. And so with all of that in these two economies, there are significant threats. Is one economy better than the other? No, they're not. They have pros and they have cons, and you can leverage both together. In the material economy, the biggest challenge and emerging threat is geography and advantage because of it. So remote-based competitors and local markets have more people to compete with, more people from across the world and across the nation and across the state and in your local town. So you have the biggest threat is your competition, and your competition isn't local anymore. So that's a really big deal. And in services, because services often comes down to who we have in our team, how good we do what we do, that also means that another person might have also dreamed up an entire new approach or a method to do that. That could be a young person, a 16-year-old with a laptop, worked something out very cheaply and effectively, is then challenging your market. Big pressure on the services side of local business. The price pressure then from digitally enabled operations with lower overheads really puts pressure on services businesses. Customer loyalty will then weaken. Comparison becomes effortless, doesn't it? Where is loyalty? Loyalty doesn't really exist in the same sense of things anymore because loyalty's not really tied to a brand anymore. Have you ever noticed that? Where we might have said our loyalty is to this big brand, the IBMs of the world, the BHPs of the world, that loyalty has vanished. Loyalty comes to the individuals, how good they do their work, where that quality comes from. And then our skilled labour shortages then creates an issue here. And so the efficiency is then what takes us to that next place. Physical capacity limits exposes ourselves during those demanded spikes and disruptions. The digital economy, do you think I'm going to solve it with saying you have to be digital? No, we don't, because the global economy drives a rapid commoditization of capability and competition. And so that's a really big challenge in the digital economy. The trust erodes very, very quickly from low quality, automated and AI generated offerings, because all of those things can help you poorly where the threat comes from, or it can help you really, really well. The art to this is the human condition. If we bring ourselves and our essence, that thing that makes us special to it, that threat vanishes. You can always tell when you've bought cheap rubbish from a digital offering. Have you ever noticed the sheer number of people that peddle courses online as if they're the be-all, end-all? They're snake oil for a reason. Speed of imitation reduces defensibility. It's so easy to copy someone else. But you know what also stands the test of time in this digital landscape? authenticity. You bring your A game, you bring yourself, you'll stand firm. Attention scarcity as audiences fragment and fatigue. Attention is everywhere, everywhere. You have to compete for it all over the place. That means in the digital landscape, you're also becoming great at marketing and how that works and how to understand your audience, what that is about, what they want, and the special love that you can bring for them. And so if we then look at the cross-economy threats, and these exist in both, is that we have confusing leverage with efficiency. Yeah, big one, hey? We confuse making an improvement as an efficiency, buying into a solution. Is that actually creating leverage though? Is that solution helping us move forward in some form or another? Is it helping us, in essence, make more money in one form or another? And that's where we need to get rooted in stabilizing that sense of things, because it's so easy to have a million things, increased complexity, confusing that for efficiency. Efficiency will be found in your systems and processes and how you brought them to life, how you bring leverage into those things together, how you map the digital, map the material, bring those things together, create leverage, create assets. Competing on delivery instead of differentiation. Delivery is one of those things that can be very dime a dozen. Lots of people can deliver a house. Lots of people can deliver a brick. It's how you bring that brick. It's the experience that you create, and that's something that exists in both. We undervalue trust and our relationship depth. And it's really challenging in different ways because people will move, shift, and go. We can over-engineer our systems. We can spend more time doing our systems and processes before we get the clarity that we need. We don't know what we don't know, which means that the clarity that we get becomes that all-important differentiator to make things work. And that means we have to have change mindsets. We need to be willing to learn every single day and not rest in the false security that everything is going fine. Just because you've always done it that way, well, if you thought that, that's your biggest threat. And with that, that's our biggest challenge in this day and age, because we as people are amazing. How cool is that? And we make great things, and we do great things because of the love that we have for people around and what we do and what we bring. So we need to do a really good job of that, and that's the differentiator. Bring that clarity, learn every day. We also need to spend our time to understand why our customers love our work. What we do, how quickly that happens. We've seen in ourselves some really big shifts in my business with Weird is the New Normal and M31. And we brought those about because a lot of our customers are introverts. A lot of our customers want to do things in their own time and their own pace. A lot of our customers wanted a private experience because of all of that. They wanted a secure experience because of all of that. They also wanted to be able to make sure that they could do things in their own time. We made changes to accommodate all those things. And so our customer shift can happen. Are we keeping a track of our customers, what they're up to? And so what are some of the top 5 wins then that we can have in the digital economy? And so the digital economy, I talk about this all the time because the reality is for most of our businesses, we have so much of our business that is enabled through digital technologies of some form or another that we are in essence a digital business. And we trade in a material economy and a digital economy. Those that can take advantage of the digital economy will win more, and they can bring the two together because the material economy, as hyper efficient as it is more often or not something not worth getting into business for. So with digital economy, we can reach more customers beyond our geography, and with the promotional cost is significantly reduced. We can create assets that work without constant presence. Constant presence. The 9 to 5 vanishes and it works completely differently. We can decouple our income from the hours worked. How rad is that? That is cool. And so that means that enables our teams to really work powerfully in more productive ways. We want to say that the 9 to 5 is the best standard for everyone to work with, but everyone's an individual, isn't it? We're going to have different times of the day where we can get our best work done. We don't work anymore in a world where you come up to do one job for 8 hours and that's it. You just repeat, repeat, repeat. Everybody that we work with and have in our teams are individuals who are unique, interesting, and have great strengths to bring our teams. It means then that we can then respond to market signals and feedback more quickly and easily than ever. If we're being threatened because more competition has come in, someone else has worked out something special that we've been doing so well, we can then turn that around just as quickly ourselves. In the material economy, that's not easy at all. And in our services businesses, in firm strict processes, this is where we can actually learn from agile type thinking. This is where the digital and the tech people solved this problem 30 years ago, how to move quickly. And that's setting ourselves up to move quickly, where change can happen quickly, where we design our systems to change. And we design our systems with intentionality in such a way that it will just happen and be able to cope with that change. So if we have these great wins in the digital economy though, am I saying to you now, we need to get rid of the material economy? Well, there's no point. Absolutely not. It's just the emphasis is no longer the same, because the reality will be in the fact that we run an operation with digital tools means that you're going to want to adopt digital ways of the digital economy to create leverage and to operate your organisation and still do both together. It is the powerful emerging new business that does both of them together that makes all the difference in this day and age. So we use digital systems to amplify our material service quality. We reduce our physical workloads while increasing and improving our customer experiences, and we turn those lived experiences into reusable digital assets. Remember, what's an asset? An asset is something that can outlive you and can make money for itself by itself. If you have to walk away from your business and it fails, you haven't got an asset. If there's anything that has to happen with or without you, or should I say more with you, then it's not yet an asset. So get to a place where it's an asset really, really quickly. We can smooth revenue volatility across seasons and demand cycles because of it. We can offer more diversity in our product offerings, and because of that, we can have greater clarity, greater purpose. The lead that we can bring to us can help us manage exhaustion quite well because we don't have to do it all at once. Okay, just because we have so many options available to us doesn't mean we have to do it all at once. Do it once, do it now. Focus on what you're really, really good at. Most people think they're in the digital economy because they use digital tools. They're not. Just because you've got digital tools doesn't mean you're running a business that's in the digital economy. Let's get that over and done with. That's just not true, okay? They are firmly planted in the material economy ways of doing things, and it's more of a situation where you're just holding a shinier spanner. That's what it is. It's just digital instead. So you use email instead of paper. You use Zoom instead of a meeting room. You use a CRM instead of a notebook. Nothing's wrong with any of that though. They're good ways to improve and have efficiencies, but the change in thought doesn't happen. That's not digital economy thinking. But none of that is going to change. Tools help us do the same work a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiency, and we can keep chasing that shiny and new thing. But here's the quiet distinction that most of our leaders miss, hey? Using digital tools means that you still sell your time, your presence, your effort. But being a digital at heart leader in the digital economy, you design products and services that work without you, that can operate completely without the team in a completely different way. They can complete with that. One is optimization, the other is leverage. When you add those things together, you don't want to just add digital tools to material work. You do speed up the treadmill, and there's some really good, important improvements into there. Robotic process automation is one of the most powerful ways that you can streamline your material operation. And that's an important thing that we need to have in our teams. We can answer our emails quicker, book our meetings faster, we produce more, feel busier, and somehow still hit the same ceiling. That's not transformation, okay? When we talk about digital transformation, that's not it, okay? Digital transformation isn't a one-off project to have more digital tools, no. Digital transformation is in the essence of bringing the material economy, the digital economy together and to become powerful in a unique way that allows you to have a business that operates as a strong asset. We don't want to dress up efficiency as progress. Not anymore. We've been doing that for 200 years. We're taking big leaps now. And we're jumping off really big cliffs of risk. And they behave differently. I call these some of the paradoxes where there'll be things that will seemingly seem similar or the same, and then the next day they operate completely differently. The way that revenue comes in comes through a completely different way. So the digital economy produces products that behave differently. Now, here's a really fascinating one. They scale without permission. Hear that one again? Digital economy products scale without permission. Your market will only do what the market does. When you've got such a broad market and that's fully global, and in the digital economy, the world is your oyster, literally. They cross boundaries without being able to travel. They serve people that you've never met before, at hours that you're asleep, in ways your body could never manage. But how cool is that? How cool is that? How cool is it that we can bring that amazing thing that helps the world in new ways, and we don't have to isolate our thinking to just our immediate town? A recorded insight can outlive 1,000 meetings. Meetings are the worst way to spend time. If you have to have a meeting, get on with it, have it quick, make it pointed, intentional, and get on with it. A well-designed system can replace years of repeating yourself. Digital technologies not only allow us to do that, but we can actually bake it into our digital economy and leverage products, services, intellectual property, and make money and create leverage with that, making our lives easier, simpler, and faster. A digital service can hold consistency where human energy fluctuates. This is why being digital at heart matters so much. It's about seeing that the value and the leverage no longer needs to be carried in your hands in the same way anymore. Digital at heart leaders do not ask, what tools should I use? They ask, what can exist without me being there? That single shift can change everything. Your business, building businesses, don't need to collapse when you rest. You stop confusing availability with value. You stop measuring contribution by exhaustion. And here's the part that most people find confronting. Digital economy products force clarity. You cannot hide behind personality, hustle, or heroic effort. It doesn't create value on its own, it doesn't survive. Which is exactly why they are powerful in the first place. When you blend the two economies properly, something beautiful happens. The material work becomes human again. The material work becomes human again. The digital work carries the weight, and leadership stops being about doing more and starts about designing better. Designing better. That is not abandoning the material world. That is freeing it. That is what it means to become a digital at heart leader. The truth check though. Notice how much of the digital economy works the way that humans actually learn and change. We absorb things when we're ready. We revisit ideas on our own time. We grow between moments rather than inside them. Digital products and services quietly respect that rhythm. They wait, they repeat, they meet people where they are. That is not a technology shift, that is a human one. So being digital at heart is not about having better tools. It's about building work that moves at the pace of understanding, not the pace of availability. When your digital work feels heavy or frantic, it's usually because material thinking is still in charge. When it feels calm, useful, and quietly powerful, you are probably closer to the digital economy than you realise.